I need the first part. There's a second and third part, I think. Let's see. Let's start from the beginning. Try one more time, and then if it's not, listen to it late recorded. It's all documented. Everything is documented, whether you're aware of it or not these days. Everything you say, do, everywhere you walk, he'll be following you. Okay. Thanks for your patience. All right, everybody. Baruch Hashem, we haven't learned in so long on a Monday night, but I'm glad we have the chance now. Continue learning for the Refuah Shlema of Yakir Ephraim ben Rachel Dvorah. So every time we come to this parsha, Parshat Beha'alotcha, for some reason there's an outpouring of emotions, and I was thinking about it today, I think that perhaps it can be because for such a long time now in the Kriyot Torah of the Parshiot, nothing too, don't get me wrong with this, nothing too juicy has happened in a long time. Juicy, I mean, like juicy that we could relate to. You know, we haven't had any Kriyat Yamsufs or manna falling down from heaven that we're thinking about, or Matan Torah. It's been a while since something really juicy. Don't get confused with Shavuot that just happened. That wasn't the parsha. That was a holiday. But on the level of something in the parsha that happens, let's think about it. We went through a whole sefer. That the end of Shmot was Vayakel and Pekudei. Then Vayikra Tzav Shmini, you have the story of Nadav and Avihu. Tazria, Mitzora, Achemot, Kedoshim, Emor, Behar Bechukotai, mitzvahs, laws, Bamidbar, countings. Naso, you have, a story of what happens to a Nazir, to a Sota, but stories about people that were named after, Moshe, Aaron, Miriam, it's all comes at you like right in your face in this parsha Beha'alotcha. And like Reb Shlomo used to call this sefer, the fourth book Bamidbar, the book of mistakes, we're reintroduced, we're reacquainted with these leaders, with our Rabbis, with Moshe Rabbeinu, with Miriam, with Aaron, but it's almost like, I know, like I heard of a Rebbe once that like when he'd come to the parsha in Bamidbar, even though he knows he has to listen to every word of Torah, he'd come to the stories and he'd go like this, especially when it came to the end of Beha'alotcha, when it, talking about Miriam and Aaron talking Lashon Hara about Moshe Rabbeinu. And then the Vayya Am Kimitonenim Kivrot HaTa'ava. How do you hear? How do you hear this? How do you hear? So we said there, so we have the Torah of like, it's to show us they're human and whatever that is. That doesn't really do it for me. So every year we try to dig deeper and deeper into this notion of why is this the way that we're reintroduced to these people, to these tzaddikim and tzaddikot, tzadkaniyot. Why does it have to be in such a way? Why do I have to find out? Why couldn't I assume that, I'm sure they were human, but I don't have to go into why do I have to find out these things? Obviously Hashem is talking to us through every single pasuk. That's got to be clear to us. But one of the most important things when we're learning Parshat Beha'alotcha is the context of location. Where are we? Where are we at in Parshat Beha'alotcha? Like physically, geographically, where are we? We're about to start walking through the desert. We're about to start going out. That's where we're at. So, Rabbi Shlomo always said, the closer you are to where you're supposed to be, the more mistakes you're going to end up making. I'll say that again. It's a very important statement. The closer you are to where you're supposed to be, the more mistakes you'll probably end up making. You think it's the other way. The closer I am to where I'm supposed to be, the more I'm aligned with myself. But suddenly now, the closer you are to where you're supposed to be, why is it that suddenly you make more mistakes, more and more mistakes? Because now you're operating, your own being is operating at a completely different level than it was before. Now, things that are today for you mistakes probably weren't mistakes a few months ago, a few years ago. They weren't considered mistakes. Yeridot, descents, spiritual descents that you're experiencing now, the closer you are to where you're supposed to be, were probably considered spiritual ascents back in wherever you were further from where you're supposed to be. Like for the typical person that's already did some serious tshuva, whatever that means, and let's say, now his failure is that he didn't really feel the oineg of Shabbos when he turned around Friday night and said, Boy, b'shalom ateret bana, and it hurts him so much. A year ago, the fact that he didn't smoke a cigarette Friday night, that was considered a success, right? So what's happening? Like today, someone wrote me today from Boston, a heartbreaking letter. He said, sometimes I just wish I was this par of modern Orthodox rabbi that just doesn't get too many thrills about things and just doesn't taste highs so that I don't have to taste lows. So I wanted, at that moment when someone tells you those things, you shut up. You don't say anything. You don't try to say anything smart. Just, you're with the person. But really, what's the answer to him? It's like, brother, you must be really close to where you're supposed to be. Because otherwise, this wouldn't hurt so much. Otherwise, you wouldn't be experiencing so many mistakes. You wouldn't feel like you're making mistakes. This is where we are, and this is how Parshat Beha'alotcha now is going to introduce to us the rest of the sefer of Bamidbar. And it's such a, I said the word before, I'm just going to say it because of the context, such a juicy sefer. I mean, there's so many stories, and there's so many characters to really start to, I almost said to investigate, investigate. There's so many different dmuyot right now in these parashiyot that you can just spend the whole week just thinking about Miriam this week, about Aaron. Next week you can spend the whole week thinking about the Meraglim. Then you can spend the whole week just thinking about Korach. Then thinking about Moshe Rabbeinu. Then thinking about Pinchas. Thinking about Balak. Somehow it's easier to keep your mind absorbed with what's happening in the Torah when it has to do with personal, with figures, with dmuyot, right? And that's where we're at right now. We're coming back with Moshe, Aaron, Miriam. Yitro plays a big role in this Shabbos as well. We say goodbye to Yitro, Pesach Sheni, the Vahi bin Aaron, suddenly the Aaron Kodesh, ends off with, obviously, Tzipora, Moshe Rabbeinu's wife, is very big over there. There's just so many things that are happening. And it's coming to us very fast. I wish there was like 3 weeks now towards every Shabbos, because there's so much to cover. So, this is a piece from Reb Shlomo that in the past, we've done part of this. I re-edited it and tried to mechaben it to what we're going to learn tonight. I believe very strongly this stuff is very deep. It's very hard. See?
Thank you.
It's very hard. No, because it's never easy when I say it's very easy. So hopefully if I say it's very hard, maybe that'll mean it might end up being easy. But it's very deep. But we're up for that, right? What else did we come to learn for? For just, easy stuff? It's not for us. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yofi. Ashreinu. Let our hearts open up wide, because here Reb Shlomo is going to bring to us the Ishbitzer and the Mea Shilach in the way that only he can. So at the end of the parsha, Aaron and Miriam are angry at Moshe Rabbeinu, and they're asking him, why did you stop living, this is a typo obviously, why did you stop living with your wife Tzipora? Remember, Moshe Rabbeinu, after he comes down from Matan Torah, his family situated the way which we can't understand at all, but it seems to the eyes of Moshe and Miriam and Aaron saying, what's going on over here? And the way that the Torah doesn't really say to us exactly what the Lashon Hara was. It says, Odot Aisha Kushit Asher Lakach. They were talking about the woman that Moshe Rabbeinu spoke about, but I'm referring to explain, Lama u piresh mimena. Why did he stop living with her? Moshe Rabbeinu did not live with his wife anymore after he came down from Mount Sinai. So last year we learned a Gewalt Pirish on this. I don't know who remembers this. Last year we learned something so awesome. Such an Ishbitzer way of learning Kav Schut, but really it was a Kli Yakar, who explained that Aaron and Miriam had a time on Moshe Rabbeinu. They said to him, why did you stop living with your wife? What's the next parsha right after this? Right after the end of Beha'alotcha. So what begins in Parshat Shlach? The Meraglim. So the Kli Yakar says, Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem said, you should choose Meraglim, whoever you feel are fit. Aaron and Miriam said, if you were still living with Tzipora, you would have chosen to send women instead of men. Did you ever hear that? Did you remember learning that? Do you remember this? It's unbelievable. The thing is, the Kli Yakar says this. That's what they were saying. They said, Moshe Rabbeinu, if you were still there, they didn't sin in Chet HaEgel. Their eyes weren't blemished. They would have seen the land for what it really is. You would have ended up choosing women to be the Miraglot. They would have come back, not have spoken the way they did, and we wouldn't have to suffer the way we suffered. That's a beautiful way of understanding that whole Smichut HaParshiyot and how that happened. But here, it seems that Miriam and Aaron are looking at Moshe Rabbeinu's life, and they're determining facts based on the way it seems to them. That's what's important to understand here. That's how the Ishbitz's angle is going to be. They're determining facts. They're assuming, all their assumptions to them are like facts based on איך שזה נראה להם, the way that it looks to them. All right? So look what he says here. And this had got me doing some research about a certain professor. When I was in the new school, do you know what the new school is? Right? It's like a performing arts college, right? More or less, huh?
My brother.
Mashukaze, right? It's in the village?
Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Fifth Avenue?
On 12th Street.
Close to there.
Across from Curtis.
When I was in the new school, so that's pretty far out. Just he said that when I was in the new school, so I mean he went there. He took some classes there. I took lectures by Karen Honey, a Jewish woman who was a little chassid of Sigmund Freud, and eventually she became her own Rebbe. This is one of the stories she told me. I remembered it my whole life, so I did some research on her, this woman today, and she was this Karen Honey, she really was a chassid of Sigmund Freud, but she ended up having a huge machlokus, which a huge shita of his, and she ended up like doing her own thing very strongly, and she had all these different shitot and chidushim. Tiferet Laila Tov Metuka. Time to go upstairs right now, sweetie. Okay? Shkoyach. Thank you. So listen to this shita. Listen to what she said. Here there is this boy of 4 and this little cousin, a little girl of 4, comes into the room. Right? So there's a little boy and a little girl. The 2 mothers say, okay, now children, you play together. Now let's say that little Maishela is playing under one table with one kind of toy, and little Chanala is playing under another table with another toy, and they're so happy together. They're each doing their own thing, but they're very happy together. You don't have to play with the same toy to be together. They're just simply together. But what happens? Their mother walks in and sees Maishela is playing under one table and Chanala under the other table. She goes up and yells at Maishela, I told you to play with Chanala, what's going on here? And now both kids begin to cry. Okay? You know what that means? What do we know about relationships? What do we know about what is taking place on the inside? Maybe in 10 years from now, Maishela is going to marry Chanala, and this was their first date. What do we know? So let's just talk about this for a second. What scenario, what did he just, what did he just create? Like the scene. It's like parents think, right, that if they're not playing together, but they're each doing their own thing, then something's wrong. But really, everything was peaceful, everything was fine. And it could be that a child, maybe they connect more by like keeping their distance and every few minutes picking up their eyes and looking at the other kid. And maybe that's on the deeper level going inside much, much more. But what does it look like? It looks like you're not getting along, they're doing fine. Everything is okay. But when basically your assumption that is the way, that you have to get together and feel close to each other. And when that doesn't happen, you lose it. Right? That's what happens. So her whole shita, this professor, right, Karen Honey, so her whole shita was more like, that's how, when it comes to behavioral issues with children, we don't understand that sometimes they might be connecting much deeper from distance than they would be if they were right in front of each other's faces. So basically the musar there was parents, don't go nuts. Don't go nuts. If it doesn't seem, if everyone's peaceful, maybe it's working out. We should say that about shuls also sometimes. I don't know. People are keeping their distance, but they love each other. Don't force everyone to sit right next to each other. I don't know what it is, but there's something to it. But this is all, the way this like little mashal that he's bringing down goes right into the heart of our parsha. So God says to Aaron and to Miriam, you're saying that Moshe Rabbeinu is not close to his wife. But what do you know about Moshe and Tzipporah? What do you know? We don't know. Can you imagine what level Moshe Rabbeinu was on? And can you imagine what level Tzipporah, his wife, were on? Obviously, they were soulmates. But what do we know? You think that while Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to God, Tzipporah was sitting around making blintzes? Well, yeah, maybe she was making blintzes, but what do you know about that, about their relationship? Meaning, this is coming up often, more and more often. How much of our lives, opinions about people and ourselves are based on assumptions that we confuse with facts? Assumptions that we have made, like, it's amazing. They assumption, they left the realm of assumption, and they became a fact. And we forget that it's just assumptions. I mean, this happens to me all the time with people that either come to a shir and don't seem that they're connecting, or people that come to a concert and I see that it's not really flowing for them. So I assume already, oh my God, I'm losing it, I'm rusty, or man, this person is so not connected, or I feel so bad for their wife, or whatever. I can go so far, right? And then they come up to you after the concert and say, I felt like I went through my whole life with what you were doing. It was just so hard to look directly at you. Something like that. How does that make you feel? What do you know what's going on in the inside of somebody? So because you never know, don't confuse assumptions with facts. Or don't basically bring assumptions to become facts. This happened. Anyone in the public I know, these things happen all the time. And every time it happens, again, I'm like, oh my God. Again, I fell for that one. Again, this happened again. These things happen, they happen all the time. Anyway, this is how the Ishbitzer is looking at the way that Hashem looks at Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam, and say, yeah, it looks to you like, they're not living together, they're not so close anymore. What do you know? Did you understand their closeness when they were living together? Did you know what that was like? You're dealing with Moshe Rabbeinu, Pe'el Daber Bo. That was Moshe Rabbeinu, and our intimacy, something that you, Aaron and Miriam, it's not for you. So I saw one of the Pirushim, I think one of the other Pirushim in the Meshloch said, at that moment, Hashem showed Aaron and Miriam a little bit of what it tasted like to be close in the level of Moshe and Tzipporah, and they realized they had no idea what they were talking about. But then Hashem took it away. It wasn't for them. He showed them. He's like, you think you know their level of closeness? You have no idea. There are a lot of stories like this about certain... I just heard a story about the Belzer Rebbetzin. People couldn't believe how Shemamish almost sat by the table, by the tish. It's a whole story I saw this week. But when it seems like sometimes there's no covet or there's no... you can assume, that Rav, he has no covet for his wife. Look at her, he's busy all day long. And where does he have time for her? Many people have that time on the Babich Rebbe. Right? Did any of them ever know about his Seder, what the Rebbe had with his wife? About what they had every single day, no matter what? They had a date every day. You know that? The Rebbe. Every day he had a date with his wife over tea. Every single day. Us that have so much more vacant time, do we have dates every single day with our wives? Every single day? What do we know on the inside? What's going on with the person? We don't know. It gets very confusing because it's really pushing you to assume you have to really be a yid that's down the kav zchut. Doesn't leave you that much of a choice. You have to really judge people favorably because you never really know where they're connecting. And I can't stress this enough. I'm really just talking to myself. That's why I'm harping on this, because sometimes it looks like people are so not inside, and yet they really are. What do I know? What do I know? Okay, so we touch on the same thing next Shabbos. Look at second to bottom paragraph. We touch on the same thing next Shabbos. When we read about the 12 spies who were very holy with prophecy, but when it comes to the inside of us, Jewish people, we still don't know what we are all about. You see what it is? You have to make so many mistakes until God reveals to you the inside of you. Until He reveals to you what you are made of. I'm going to say that line again. It's another one of these bolts of lightning. You have to make so many mistakes until God reveals to you the inside of you. Until He reveals to you what you are made of. So if you look at all the stories in Sefer Bamidbar, it's a bunch of stories about big people that are making mistakes. Because even those big people still didn't even know what they are really all about. Even they needed to have more time to figure out what they're really made out of. So we see it by Moshe, by Miriam and Aaron. Then we see it by the Meraglim. If they're representing the nation, that means that as a nation, we still didn't really know what we're all about. All we knew until then is that we're special. Obviously, God performs all these miracles. He has all these messages for us. Takes us out of Mitzrayim, experiencing things that no people, hearing God's voice. We knew that we were special, but a lot of people know they're special, but they're still stuck in a very confusing world because they don't know what is special about them. They know they're special. They don't know what it is, though, that makes them special. So until this sefer, Am Yisrael has an idea. Any descendant of Avram Avinu has an idea. I know I'm made out of something special, but I'm not really sure what it is. Hashem can give me a million things without me working for it, but it still won't make me understand what's special about me, other than knowing that I'm special. It's enough for a beginning, but it's not enough to keep your journey going strong and being committed to discovering what makes you so special. And I think that even till today, we know that we're very special people. But I don't think that most of us have any idea what makes us really special. And even though we know the Torah, that's a very easy answer to say, oh, the Torah makes us special. What about the Torah makes you special? What does it do? And the only way we find out is by mistakes. Like the Torah, like the Gemara says, En Adam omed al divrei Torah ela im ken nichshal bahen. It's just the way it goes. What shir was it? Someone asked, I forget what it was, if the only way to grow is through falling. Do you remember what shir was? Was it yesterday? It was yesterday's shir, right? Yeah. So we said ideally no. But maybe the question is the only way to get to know yourself through some kind of falling? What do you think the answer would be? Well, think of your own lives. What?
But the jealousy, I think, also helps. The jealousy, the good jealousy.
The good jealousy helps, yeah. Well, it helps. But if you have to think of yourself in your own personal life, can you imagine, like, can you, with all the holy humility, can you internalize and understand those, like, can you go back to the moments that made you who you were and see if it was dafka mistakes or successes?
It's like physically. Are you aware of your back? When are you aware of your back?
Right.
When you have a backache. So the same way, when are you aware of yourself more? When you're making the mistake. Somebody hurts you. That's when you...
My go-to is always two things, teeth and stomach aches. I'm not aware right now that my stomach doesn't hurt me, but when my stomach hurts me, oh my God, am I aware of the function of the stomach, but teeth also. For some reason, I have a oozing pain in my, Baruch Hashem, everything's okay, but if it ever did happen, so I say to myself, what do I say? What I'm going to do now is that when this is better, I'm just going to spend time every day acknowledging the fact that my tooth doesn't hurt, right? I never did that though. It's not like right now, we're standing right now. You know, it really feels so good that my stomach doesn't hurt me. Right? I'm even scared to say it, liftoach peh right now. I'm like, I don't want to remember. But that's that's what happens. Why?
I actually think that you get to know yourself a lot better and deeper, not through mistakes, like through experiencing like really high moments of connection. Like I think that's like for me personally, like those moments are much more like, wow, getting to know myself than the mistakes. My opinion.
Asur lach to have your own opinion. That is asur. So you're all assuming right now, what kind of relationship do they have, really? Everyone's sitting here like, no assumptions. That was just a test all year. And now you're saying, what in the world? To each their own. Everyone should have their own way.
I tell our girls, not every day, but often, that falling is part of learning, because it can get frustrating when you try something and you don't succeed the first time. And that can maybe block you off from wanting to continue down the path that you were trying to go on.
Right.
But when you understand that that's just part of the process, it's where you grow.
When you, so maybe one of the ways of understanding this is that when doesn't it become, when isn't it a growing step? Like when isn't it making me closer to myself? When I remain mad at myself for my failing and not looking at it as a moment of wait a second, it could be that right now this is really an opportunity to be mashlim, to complete a picture. So if I don't go there and I stay in the place of being mad at myself and self-persecute myself, those failings don't bring you right. They do not bring you closer. They don't do anything to you. La'efech, they dig you and they make you sink even deeper into the mud. Okay. Let's go back to the ends of the bottom of here, and here I want you to open up your hearts in the deepest depths. God gives me manna from heaven. Now he's talking about where they were at back then, right? God gives me manna from heaven. God gives me the highest revelation that all my sustenance comes from heaven. That's where we're at in the desert. And here I say in the parsha, Master of the world, I need more than that. I need more than everything you gave me until now. What is this? What is he referring to? Remember how Their manna is coming down from Shemayim. And Am Yisrael comes and says, that's not enough. Give us basar. Give us something that we could feel more. Right? That's the kav zchut of it. So look what he says here. Because that seems like a very odd request. What were you told that manna tasted like?
Anything you add.
Right. So like everyone always went to
They were
pizza,
very focused
ice
on
cream.
texture, I guess.
Right. Well, what did we usually assume it to be when we heard that? Bemet.
Good steak.
A good steak. Anything, but the function of like this can be anything makes this seem to be amazing. And now what are they saying? Give us something that we can feel clearer, that we know more what it is. Tnelanu basar. Give us that. But so when you look at the world with ordinary eyes, heaven is higher. Whew, okay, saying something very deep. When you look at this world and you imagine what's higher, what's lower, to you, manna falling down from the heavens is a higher thing than if you went to the store and bought a piece of meat and cooked it and then had a nice gewalt geschmack piece of meat, right? But after Aaron HaKohen was giving the light in the beginning of the parsha, and that's a big theme here, that all these crazy stories that are happening throughout the parsha, it always goes after its beginning, that Aaron HaKohen comes and lights the menorah. So Aaron's light, his tafkid in the world, was very, very, very in our faces, as opposed to Moshe Rabbeinu in our parsha. It's Aaron HaKohen who's kind of like starring here in the beginning. What does Moshe Rabbeinu resemble more, heaven or earth? Heaven. Aaron HaKohen, Shalom ben Adam l'chavero ben ish leishto, the Kohen's involved all the time in taking care of this world, these worldly matters. So he says, but after Aaron HaKohen was giving the light in the beginning of the parsha, suddenly you realize the depths of this world that we are in. You realize that even that down here is actually much higher than you realize. Meaning the ability to lekadesh et achol, like Rav Kook spoke about all the time, to sanctify what seems to you as non-heavenly things, it makes man feel much more accomplished and closer to being themselves. But in order to have vessels for the light of this world, you need mamish, a heart of flesh. That's what they were asking for. Basar. In previous years, we learned that what they were asking for was leiv basar, as opposed to their leiv even. That's a whole other shir. You remember that shir? Do you remember that? It's that whole shir. That when they were asking, when they were davening, and they were saying, please give us meat, the Ishbitzer says what they were really saying was, we've experienced every miracle in the book, and yet what? We still have a leiv even. We still have a heart of stone. We haven't really changed. We know we're special, but we haven't really changed. Tenulanu basar. Give us meat. Let me have a leiv basar. We want to be people that actually feel, that change. That's what they were asking for. So Hashem goes to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, feed them. And what does Moshe Rabbeinu tell them? Me'ayin li basar, meaning you think I've changed? You think I figured this out already, how to not have a heart of stone? I too am still waiting to try to figure out how that works. That's why this last line here is very important. In order to have vessels for the light of this world, you need mamish, a heart of flesh, meaning you have to be vulnerable enough to feel, to be moved, to be touched, to actually be affected by what's going on in this world. Heavenly things are not enough for you in down here. You need to go through the motions of life. They're saying you're feeding us angel food, but we know we're humans. We need more than that. So the deepest depths of this parsha is that a person has a right to tell God that despite all my shortcomings, I know I'm not on the level. I know that I haven't even begun, but please, for 1 second, give me a heart of flesh. For 1 second. For 1 second, let me mamish taste what this world is all about. That's how Reb Shlomo, in the name of the Ishbitzer, is understanding why the story of them asking for basar is in the middle of this parsha. Because they're realizing that the way that they've been experiencing the miracles and having heavenly angelic moments, that's not enough for their souls. They need more than that. Because they're still getting caught up in little shtuyot. Like they don't feel like they have the vessels to really do what they're supposed to be doing in this world. I hope I'm making myself clear. I told you in the beginning, it's a very deep concept. How hard is this? Is it hard? Is it hard to understand, or is it hard to accept? For you?
I think it's hard to accept.
Right. It's not so hard to comprehend.
No.
Right, it's hard to accept. Why is it so about? Why is it so hard to accept?
Because it sounds sort of ideal to have like Hashem reveal himself to us. That's what, I mean, that's
what we're waiting
what's
for all the
missing.
time,
That's
right.
That's what we're missing here. That's what I'm missing here.
Right.
It's really so like untangible that, this seems like ideal, and then look what's...
Right, and they're getting this every single day, and they're saying, you know what? Stop like that. Let it be more a way in Olam Hazeh that I can connect. And we're saying, Ribono Shel Olam, afilu ba'astara shebetoch ha'astara bevadai gam sham nimtza Hashem yisbarach. It's almost the opposite. Yeah. You almost want to say to them, are you kidding me? You really kvetched about God's revelations all day long? That's what you're saying. That's what you feel like saying to the Yidden in this parsha. Really? You're really kvetching about that? You needed something else? But here Reb Shlomo is saying that a person can say, like, I know I'm not on the level, but I need something else. I need to feel you in a different way. It's amazing. Like, this is the concept of holy chutzpah, of coming to Hashem and looking at all the gifts He gave you and understanding that it could be that you are, basically your tikkun is to say to Hashem, I thank you for every gift you gave me. And everything is so precious and so valuable to me. But I need more. I need you to reveal yourself more to me. I need you to reveal yourself in a different way than you've done until now. I know myself. I know what I need. I need more. Like as a people, right now today, I think we're so stuck in feeling like because we're so filled with riches and life has never been better on so many levels, so we don't have a right to say to Hashem, you need to reveal yourself right now more. Because when we were told, no, don't be kfui tova, don't be, what does that mean? Ungrateful. Work with what you have. You have more than your grandparents ever had. How do I know if I had more than my grandparents ever had? Maybe what they had is my assumptions, right? Because I live in a more materialistic world. So the statement, you have more than what your grandparents had, is applicable to materialism. Can I say that I have more than what my great-grandfather had on a Hasagat Hashem level? Just because I have a larger table or a larger house? What do I know? It goes to the beginning of this parsha, of this parish we learned tonight. What do I know? I have no idea. So that's why maybe, I don't know, like this, I think about this quite often. Why don't we demand Hashem to reveal Himself clearer? We're so worried that we're just, hopefully we're doing mitzvahs and not averos. But how come part of the tefillah we have is not like, you have to reveal yourself clearer in the world?
Is it clearer or is it different?
Either way.
Because different means that Kadosh Baruch Hu reveals Himself on the level of a material world. Whereas He was talking on a higher level. When we talk about that Hashem comes down and we come up, there's always the space between us.
Right.
And so maybe we're saying, Kadosh Baruch Hu, relate to us down here because we know we can't go up there in this material world. So.
Do we say that though? That's beautiful what you're saying, but is that consciously part of the way that we are talking to God?
Yes, I think we want to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a level that we understand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I understand. I know that there's this lofty level that I can't get to, but I want to talk to you. And this is my human condition. How do we speak together?
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. That's what we're all in our heart of hearts striving for. But I'm talking about nationally, that this became the voice of our generation, that we would go to the kotel and not like it's daven for Yeshua's, but say clearly, apparently we're not understanding the memos. It's like to scream that to Hashem. Apparently we're trying very hard and you see it, but it looks like it's not really working. So then I hear that voice and say, what do you mean? Kibbutz galuyot. And No. More Torah in Eretz Yisrael than there ever was. That's great. There's still way too many Jews hating each other. And there's still way too many Jews that don't even think of coming to Eretz Yisrael. So please read us the memo clearer. That's what I think. Yeah, it is different. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think that maybe it's because our whole tafkid is to reveal Hashem in this world. If we tell Hashem just to give that to us, what are we left? It's the same idea with the man. Right? They were stuck between these two places.
Right.
They were just told all these things they need to do in Olam HaAsiyah.
Right.
And then at the same time, they're being given these totally undeserved gifts that they can't relate to. It's a little.
So you think it's like
confusing.
today?
I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in this.
Well,
place.
no. Do you see like the gift of Eretz Yisrael, like the manna?
I could see it that way. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about it that way.
It's happening. Can you explain the 48? Can you explain 67? Like, can you explain
I can't explain
now?
the last 20 minutes.
Right. We're still going in and out of this thing of like not being sure exactly what I could ask Hashem to do, but it's a klal and ishbitz that if the Torah gives you a right to act on what you learn. So if we see that the Yidden asked, they did come up with asking for something, so you have a right to ask. The only thing is, do you remember the rest of the story about what happened to them? The people that asked for the flesh? So did they get it or not? They got it, and then what ended up happening to them?
They got killed.
Then they got killed. Because they didn't really understand what they were asking for. You have a vessel for Hashem to talk to you clear. So I want to say today, only in your presence, I would say this, that, yeah, but they're listening in this chut of your presence. Today, yes. Because there's too many, I always say like, tekos, right? Like, tishbi etaretz. So there's too many people waiting only for Eliyahu Navi to come and explain to them why in the world they went through what they went through. So on today's level, on that, from looking at it from there, can you ask Hashem to make it clear? Is that okay that we ask Hashem to make it clear? You're up for the consequence of Hashem being clear? You're up for that consequence. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes, third to bottom paragraph, sometimes we have a heart of stone when it comes to relating to people. We can carry the Mishkan, we can sit at Mount Sinai, we can even have prophecy, but you know what? My heart might still be made out of stone. Look at us. Think of Am Yisrael, what we've experienced. How many things we've been through as a people. It's amazing that we still are like hearts of stone to other Jewish people after the 6 million and after coming back to Eretz Yisrael. Doesn't make any sense. The Holy Temple was destroyed because people looked at each other with a heart of stone. We were right. I see you don't keep Shabbos. You're terrible. I'm right. But where's your heart of flesh? What do you know? So until now, he basically sums this up in such a beautiful way. And this is like we're going to end with this. Take this in. This is so important and so real. And because who in this room wouldn't do anything in the world to crack open their heart of stone? Who would do anything in the world, right? So he's going to put the Tanakh, like the Michlal, like Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, Bamidbar in context. Every single book is like has its own name, obviously, like the Ramban is big on that. And even though this is known as Chumash Pkudim, I once saw a beautiful Pirish from the Netziv, who I think he calls this book, I think we might have learned it a few years ago, he calls this sefer called Sefer HaMemutza. And Mutza means like the transition, like the average, like between, like we're transitioning now into understanding that we're really human beings, right? We could have gotten confused a little bit leaving Egypt and going to Har Sinai. And then a whole Sefer of Vayikra, Korbanos, up there, this and that. Now it's already like you're coming back inside. You're figuring out how to be a people again in this world. But this time, you're free. There's no slave master telling you what to do. That's what Netziv calls this Chumash. I think Sefer HaMemutza. I believe that's the word he used. So here he ends off like this. Until the book of Bamidbar, the depths of the Torah was about knowing. In Bereshit, I have to know who created the world. who my mother and fathers are. In Shmos, I have to know who took me out of Egypt and who gave me the Torah. And then in Vayikra, I have to know when to bring a korban chatat and when to bring a korban shlamim. I have to know when to do this, when to do that. It's all this knowledge I have to know, accumulate. Bamidbar is when I reach another level. Because the Torah of mistakes means that the more mistakes I make, the more I realize that I don't know anything yet. It's like as much as I'm supposed to know, Rabbi Nachman always says, Tachlit ha'yediyah shelo neda. At the end of the day, you have to realize whatever I think I know about you, it's even higher to understand that I know nothing. Same thing about Hashem, and harder than even about Hashem, is about ourselves. The more I think I know myself, really knowing myself means that I don't even know what I'm capable of doing in this world. But the only way to admit that I don't really know is through mistakes. That level of growth that we're speaking about, where mistakes are necessary for us to grow, is that through this concept of realizing that I'm capable of so much more. So the only way that I find out that I'm made of more than I realized is through learning by the mistakes. That I could actually learn from every mistake that I made should humble me and realize I really don't know myself. And and not only is it fine, it's good. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's almost like, put it in here, like maybe after Hashem rebuked Miriam and Aaron, maybe they themselves said, wow, we thought we really knew who we were. We thought we were people that had hearts that could really not assume things about our brother Moshe Rabbeinu, but look at that. And then we know that they basically spent the rest of their life, and then each of them had another 38 to 39 years after this. Actually, all three of them, because all three of them die in between the 38th and the 40th year. So it's like this is the time at the end of their last chunk of their life to say like, okay, now let's learn the Torah of how precious it is to understand why I'm special. I'm special because Hashem trusts me enough to grow from mistakes. I'm special because Hashem trusts me enough. Baruch haba. I'm special because Hashem trusts me enough that when I fall, I know it's to understand that I'm going to become much, much, much bigger. Much bigger than that. So how does this change? Like, what is the transition over here in this sefer? Like on a Lamaisa level? Like when I go to the story in our parsha of Miriam and Aaron, so on the one hand, I look at them and I can ask myself, why is the Torah telling me about Miriam and Aaron's Lashon Hara? Why would I want to hear that about them? Why would I want to hear that about them? Why? Because as long as you're alive, it means Hashem gives you more and more an opportunity to grow and to get to know yourself. And the way you get to know yourself is by realizing that you don't really know who you are. You don't really know what you're capable of. It's basically, like I would say, like a person's opportunity to end off their life completely refined is by removing any assumption they have about anything. In a negative way, that is. Because we should all assume that everyone's a tzaddik. I mean the bad kind of assumptions which lead us to negative thoughts about people and about ourselves. And that's what the rest of this sefer is all about. That's how the transition works here. That's how the Netziv like looks at this, like the Memutza. You're going through transition of from up there into down here. But take a look in our lives. Look back. Look at all the failings you had. Look at what they made you when you allowed them to be morei derech, which means, guides. Look what happened to you when you were insisting on just self-persecuting yourself. You're right, nothing happened. But when you allowed mistakes to be your morei derech, you wouldn't have chosen it any other way. And that is like the ideal life, that you could look back and always have a regret that you went over to Ratzon Hashem, but looking at the things that made you grow and saying, I wouldn't have chosen it any other way, that's Gan Eden while you're still down here in this world.
It's a little bit of our concept, the concept if you've like really messed up in certain areas, And
But what did
even
you do
grow
from it?
them,
Yeah.
and even grown from them. I don't know. It's hard to say that even though it brought to growth, I wouldn't have had it any other way. There's
Well,
certain
you have
things I
to-
would have preferred not to have.
That you did or that happened to you?
No.
That you did?
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you a harder question. Could it be that's what Hashem wanted?
I
B'di'evet.
had the choice.
I'm talking b'di'evet right now, not lechatchila.
I suppose.
Emuna means yes.
Yeah.
So would you have it any other way than the Ratzon of Hashem? Sorry, I don't mean to like shut you up. I'm just saying, you know what I mean. I hear what you're saying. There are plenty of things, right? But if I don't throw in Emunah and cover that whole, what we just did with Emunah, you're right. Why in the world would I? So maybe I wouldn't have grown that much, but maybe I wouldn't have lachtim et neshama sheli also that much. Emunah means that for some reason, the way that Hashem had my tshuva set up for me was through that. He'll explain to me one day why it had to be like that.
What if the mistake was that you made though really hurt someone else? Like you could still say that was Ratzon Hashem, like meaning like that's part of
When
the
can you say
and
that?
It's fine
When can you say that?
that it hurt someone else.
No. When can you say about that it was that must be like what God wanted?
When you forgive yourself.
And when they forgive you and you become closer after that incident.
Any of the mistakes you make, there could be a much worse mistake that comes later that you would make if you hadn't made the first one.
That's also that's very
When you learn
chazak.
from something,
Yeah.
you're not going to step into that same pitfall
Right.
again.
But how many mistakes have we had with people that it involved a certain level of hurt, but the tshuva brought the level of relationship to much, much closer than before you hurt somebody. So you can't live in a chatchila world like this. It's not like,
Also, what
let
we
me
know
see who I want to be
they were-
closer to today, so let me try to hurt them. Because I know that I'm going to ask them for forgiveness, and we lechatchila we try to Bezrat Hashem stay yashar, but we're living in a b'di'evet world sometimes. Not sometimes, most of the times it feels like that, right? So b'di'evet, I'm saying, listen, if this happened already, am I going to stay in the mud, or am I going to take this opportunity to come even closer? Yeah.
I think also in the way it was supposed to happen, and if you are doing something that causes something bad to happen to somebody else, I think that you, in some ways, were the messenger sent to do that, and hopefully good things come out of it.
I think we learned that, but you just said the greatest of Moshe Rabbeinu's perspective, the way our limited perspective of him relating to himself after hitting the rock. Wouldn't a person of his stature be on the level to expect of himself to not have hit that rock? Think about it for a second. You ever get angry at yourself because you expect more of yourself? What about God talking to you for 40 days and 40 nights, telling you something specific and you don't do that? What would you expect of yourself? But Moshe Rabbeinu is the master of not letting yourself be buried under your own mistakes. And what does he do? He says, yeah, I made a mistake, and Hashem said to me, you're not going to get this, and I continue to daven. And Hashem kept on saying, no, and I continue to daven. What does that say about Moshe Rabbeinu's, that to me maybe is like overlooked more than any other milas, all the great things we say about Moshe Rabbeinu, is that Dafka, he had the greatest and most legitimate taina to self-persecute himself, because he should have expected much more of himself, right? But Dafka, he shows us, no, I only got closer after that. And it has something to do with Hashem saying yes or no. It brought me to talk to Hashem on even a deeper level and talk to Him more and more and more and get closer and closer and closer. So if Moshe Rabbeinu could still talk to God after making such a grave mistake of doing exactly what Hashem said not to, when do we do our averas? Is it clear to us this is exactly what Hashem said not to? Alavai, we should be on such a level that it's so clear to us that what we're doing is exactly yes or not, not exactly Hashem's will or not. That it should be so clear to us. But I think that we're dafka learning how to be such gewalt human beings, but through learning the mistakes, that the Torah is letting us know about Moshe, Aaron, It's not like Eight says, now let's become all biblical critics because that'll make us really understand. Look at biblical critique. It stays in a very bad place. It stays in a very bad place. Come in. So anyway, Hashem should bless us to learn from every mistake we make, to learn from every single moment where it looks to us that mamash ta'inu, and realize that right now all Hashem wants of me in this moment is to not stay in this darkness. That now's a moment, another opportunity li'itkarev. Remember what Rabbi Shlomo said, he named Rabshitzer. Down here in this world, when someone makes a mistake, you know what the assumptions look like? Sinner, sinner, sinner. Do you know what voice, you know what it sounds like in Shemayim? In Shemayim they say, hey, check it out. Shlomo just paved another pathway of tshuva to Hashem. He just doesn't know it yet. Halavai, we should be privileged to that. Okay, Yesher Koach everyone. Shekayach.